Good morning, everyone, both to the speakers and to the attendees in Sustainable Places this morning. Today's presentation is going to focus on citizen engagement, and we have four experts coming from different uh, university or businesses this morning to present what are the recent trends, what are the lessons learned and best practices for citizen engagement. So I'm going to briefly present all of you in order of presentation. So we do have Razia and Jordan. Razia Jaggoe, I hope to pronounce correctly your surname. You're a transition anthropologist, and you have a background in sociology, and you work together with Jordan in DuneWorks. You're gonna give us some updates on LIGHTNESS European Horizon Europe project and how to engage and support with the justice principles. On the other side, secondly, comes Silvia Urra Uriarte. She's a senior researcher in Tecnalia, and you focus mainly on building renovation and construction management, for what I've seen. But later, if you want, you can present yourself better to highlight some few things also. Um, Depending in alignment to what you're going to present today, which is the case studies from Global South and Global North. So we're going to have this two different perspectives. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, no, I'm going to present URBANAGE project.
Okay. Then second is the Age-Friendly Neighbourhood Index. Am I correct, Silvia? Okay. Sorry for that. So urban planning and age-friendly neighborhood index. And third comes Sergio Lujan Torres. And here instead we're gonna hear from Global South and Global North. Sergio works in the Department of Languages and IT Systems and is based in Alicante. Am I correct, Sergio?
No, I work for Generaciones Fotovoltaicas de la Mancha, GFM. So I am going to talk about NEON project.
Sorry, I got a different information. So Generación Fotovoltaica and Neon Project. Okay, so let's go in order then. Razia and Jordan, maybe you can share your screen and tell us about lightness and justice principle for engaging and supporting energy actions.
Sure, thanks a lot, Alberto. I'll just share my screen. This is the one. Yeah, also from my side, thanks for everyone joining physically. We cannot see you, which is a bit strange, to be honest. But during the presentation, we will find out not only approximately how many people are joining us physically, but also what your view on engagement is. So looking forward to that. Before that, yeah, as Albert said, Razia and we both work at DuneWorks as so-called action researchers, so also being involved in the field. And in the Lightness project, we were able to, not only engage citizens ourselves in energy communities, but also to support other pilots to do so. But more about that later. Yeah, so let's dive right in. Is this working? Go. Oh yeah, go. So at the end of this session, it would be nice if you would know what we found in the Lightness project about just citizen engagement, so citizen engagement in alignment with justice principles. And we would like to have had reflected on the relevance of these findings for the energy transition, but also for your work. About Lightness. So the aim of the Lightness started in 2021, and the basic idea was to deploy a so-called energy platform, so smart energy technology, which enables energy monitoring, peer-to-peer trading, to deploy that in 5 local energy communities in different European countries. These communities were actually not yet formed, so that's where we came into play. Our work package was was dedicated towards setting up these communities, engaging people, recruiting people, and also monitoring and evaluating according to justice to the justice framework. The pilot communities are interesting because they differ in size and the sort of building type, but also in terms of national legislation. So in some countries, for instance, peer-to-peer energy trading isn't even allowed or wasn't financially rewarded, whereas in other countries there was possibility. And those sort of things obviously matter for how, for the possibilities of setting up such a community. One crucial lesson, just to give you a quick spoiler, and user engagement was very crucial for initiating the communities, and that's partly, as I said, because there weren't any like energy communities there yet. So we had quite a lot to do in our work package, and also we encountered quite some challenges. So I guess today's session is also about like not offering again tools and concepts about how you can do citizen engagement, but to really reflect on it from our practical experience, and also from experiences that were far from ideal, and to really also make the point of, okay, citizen engagement is complicated, it can fail, and more attention must be directed to improving it, and that's what we're here for today, basically. Here's a picture of Razia running a workshop in one of our Dutch pilots, and in that sort of sessions we were engaged with people, but it also gave us the opportunity to monitor what people were telling us, and monitor the process of engagement. So that about lightness. I'm not really sure how fast I should be going. Just checking the time.
You're just 4 minutes into your 20 minutes you have available.
Okay, good
I'm gonna just tell you at 5 minutes, I'm gonna make your countdown.
Sounds great. Thanks, Alberto.
Of course.
Great. So I'll take it from here. Hi everyone, Razia speaking. What we are curious about before we start discussing our lessons, the lessons we learned from our 5 local engagement processes, is to know who we are discussing it with. So please join us on Menti. You can scan the QR code that you see on screen, or you can type in the voting code on the website, menti.com. And what we are asking you there, the first question is, who are you?
You'll see me sharing the Mentimeter now. Let's see. No, this is not the one. Oh, I guess it's supposed to be. Oh.
Jordan, maybe you can share again the QR code so the people present, they can have the time 1 second to do
Sure.
the scanning.
Good idea. So, yeah. Oh, hold on.
So we'll give you a moment to scan the QR code or to type in the voting code on the website so that we can start seeing your input.
Marta, from the physical room, we are adjusting the public present in sustainable places. And if you can scan and engage in this conversation, we would like to know more about the public. Do you think that's possible in a short time range?
Hello. Well, here from the
Yeah.
physical, yeah, we are.
We are voting.
Yeah, they already voted. So.
Okay.
Thank you.
Oh, okay.
Thanks a lot.
Good to hear. So I guess I'll switch to the. There we are now.
Okay.
Okay, good to know. So finally, we know how many joining us. Yeah, hi. 5
Hi.
people from research, 1 citizen or local initiative.
Right. Well, that's good to know. So then we can move to the second question, which is, what is your experience with engagement processes? Or actually, how much experience do you have with citizen engagement? On a scale from 0 to 10? 5.3. All right. Okay. Good to know. That's an interesting score. I think we have our votes now. Was there another question, Jordan? Look, this is going fast. It's challenging. That's the most emphasized word. Okay, so that's something that's interesting because, of course, that is something that we've also learned from our processes. Let's see. It was inspiring. There's a local impact. Social housing, which is a very interesting context. One of our pilots was also in a social housing context, which is very different from a homeowners neighborhood. Yes, I think we should continue then.
Thanks all for voting, and nice to have an idea of who we're presenting with. Yeah, just it'll enable us to better talk about the recommendations that we have. But first of all, we wanted to give you also a sense of what makes it in citizen engagement actually just. And well, you see this little the comic from an ex-colleague of ours. So here you have like a like a puppet thing saying thank you for your input. From now on, we will do whatever we want to do, and it's kind of representative of a sort of mindset, not only among policymakers, entrepreneurs, businesses, that participation takes place as a sort of just for the show. So, okay, we collected your input, but basically it doesn't matter because we've already decided. So that's something which is seen quite often, and it's also relates kind of to our experience in LIGHTNESS. And this is one thing what we would call a procedural injustice, so that the process is actually not aligned with justice principles. And from our perspective, of course, it's interesting to say, okay, what alternatives do you have from the approach of the puppeteer with the tie? For that purpose, we use the Voicer model, which was developed by DuneWorks also in a previous project. Sorry. And it kind of evolves around 6 justice aspects. So it all starts with recognizing who's actually in the local context, what drives them, what are their needs and wishes. That allows you to engage them, to let them participate, the yellow puzzle piece, in a just way, so that their vote really counts and that they have a voice of say in the process, contrary to the process you see in the comic. Ultimately, that it'll allow for a just distribution, because if people have a word of say, they can also make sure that they are not burdened with like an overly amount of costs or risks. You have capacities, which is the recognition, also again, recognition of certain skills, but also of opportunities that people have, and that can range from financial capacities to certain, digital literacy, for instance, and responsibility. So the fact that people might want to take on some responsibility in setting up a community, but not all of it. And you have to be sensitive of that as a sort of engagement leader, because you don't want to overburden people, but you want to make sure if they are enthusiastic to do something, that they can also fulfill this role. And around you see 2 arrows which indicate learning, so that actually you can learn from the input you're collecting and adapt your engagement process to the knowledge that you gather about the community. So I hope that's clear. Then we come to the 12 recommendations. I'm just checking the time now. Okay, we have about
less than 9 minutes left, Jordan.
okay, thanks, Alberto. So hopefully you see a list of 12 recommendations here, which we've came up with in the last years. So 9 minutes will hopefully give us time to discuss 2 a bit more in depth. I'll run you, just to give you an intuition of what a recommendation is, I'll run you by 2 or 3. So for example, the 4th one, focus first on community, then on energy, is it stems from our experience that people are less inclined to join an energy community or to even come to a workshop or answer to an email when it's about energy. For example, if you launch an energy value proposition for a certain service, then it is less attractive to people than if it's focused around community. So it's very different than that they are approached by a neighbor who says, "Oh, this evening I'm going to this and this community event. Might be interesting, maybe not. It's about energy, whatever. But I'm keen to join. Maybe you also want to join." So that sort of focus on community is really important, and to establish an energy community. That's what we found. And the 10th one, for example, empower the willing and enable. It really relates to our experiences that you have to have a certain proficiency digitally, so with digital services, in order to participate in the energy transition in a meaningful way. But that it's also about a certain degree of energy literacy. So if you don't understand terms such as kilowatt hour or CO2 even, then it is less attractive for you as a resident to be involved in an in an energy community. And that again could be unjust, because certain people which are already privileged have more opportunities to benefit from the energy transition than others. So this is our list of recommendations, and
Yes, and our list is too long to completely talk about with you. So we are very curious to hear which recommendations you find recognizable or maybe surprising, so that we can discuss 1 or 2 of these. So please join us again on Menti, and you can scan the QR code.
In the while, maybe we do the scanning and answer here. I guess I can just briefly put my input. It's interesting to see that the topic of energy doesn't enlighten or increase the interest, while the focus on community, yes, but I guess that's because we're referring to a general public. And let's see what comes from the public.
All right, so we have the responses already. Do field research to know what is important. Sorry. So that is the one of our main findings, and we can see here that for you this is also recognizable, because one of the things we found is that, I'm sorry, my voice is breaking a bit. One of the things we found is that the way we propose the idea of joining an energy community and what benefits that can have for the participants, we found that that was not understandable for everyone, which is also a reason for people to decline, not because they are not interested, but because we did not tailor our explanations to their needs and perhaps not propose a solution that fits their issue. If you have anything to add, Jordan, be welcome. Do field research to know what is important is also about find out who your target group really is and what they need. This is an overlapping finding that we found in all our pilots, but I can see here, yeah, in the Netherlands, we found in one of our contexts that some people are distrustful of the government, which is a reason for them to align the proposition that we came to bring, to align us with that idea of the government. And that was a reason for people to decline us, even before understanding what we were proposing. Let's see, in Poland, we also found that some residents are immobile. They're also digitally illiterate, which means that prohibits them from joining us at all. So it is key to anticipate what you have to do to engage them, what they need, and what they find important. Let's see what another, I see the time is running out. And let's go.
Just a quick addition. I guess also sort of practically what that means is that you can get to know the community through being really in the field. So talking with people on the street, just like low threshold, low key measures of inquiry, going door to door, planning interviews with people who, if you have any channels which into the community, maybe even via intermediaries. And what can help is to have like a checklist of certain characteristics that you'd like to know more about. And that can be the social fabric in the community. It can be things like the technical literacy. It can be the housing type that are like typical things which, and also time budget. So how much time do people actually have to spare to contribute to setting up an energy community, or even giving input, filling in a survey. And things like, okay, if there's many pensioners, that means they have more time than people who are living with a family, who have 2 kids who are working. And that's kind of the value of this activity, and also the key of this recommendation. You need to be in the field, and you need to get to know what is going around there, what the history of the place is. Not like history, but in terms of engagement, in terms of energy, any events that might have occurred which might influence people's attitudes towards energy sharing or energy community. And from then onwards, you can design the engagement procedure. And it also increases the project's visibility. It creates trust, especially if you send the same person again and again. People will become accustomed to you, and they'll tend to be more trusting than if you're sending a different person every time. And you can you can also give output and collect input. It's 2 ways, which makes it co-creative. So that's for this lesson.
Yes, thank you, Jordan. I see in matters of
Just
time.
a few minutes left. You can take your time. Just there is some few minutes, of course.
Should we perhaps? I'm curious to hear what response or what experiences our audience has with this lesson that we drew. So should we first go back to Menti, or ask our audience to respond to that?
As you prefer, Marta, from the physical room, do we have microphones we can pass to the audience by any chance? Yeah, we can hear you.
Anything? Questions or some comments?
I do have a remark or question.
Okay, maybe if you can come here so they can see you too. Yeah, we have a comment from one person in the room, so.
I don't know, can you see me?
Here. Put here.
Where is it? Oh,
no, it's here.
Sure.
So yeah. you can just talk here.
Okay, you see me, hear me?
Yes,
Yeah, we can hear you and see you.
Okay, yeah.
Hi.
Okay, well, nice to hear your presentation and see something of this project. I forwarded to some of my colleagues because they're also working on different projects on social innovation and citizen engagement. I think it's useful to know that we're also collaborating with Housing Europe. I don't know if you know Housing Europe. It's kind of umbrella organization for social housing in Europe. And they work on a project called in the program for the EU for affordable housing on some blueprints that will be used for lighthouse projects which are setting up for energy renovation in districts. And there are several blueprints. One of the blueprints is on social innovation, and that's specially meant on citizen engagement for these projects. So we are working on that blueprint for social innovation for affordable housing renovation on district level. So for that, I think your findings and your results are useful, and maybe also the development of that project might be useful for you. So we will just be happy if you have also reports on your findings, or maybe you can explain when reports will be produced and publicly available.
And for the sake of information, Jordan Razia, we have 2-3 minutes left.
Okay, thanks. So I'll quickly answer. Maybe we'll go to another lesson. Thank you for your question and for your that's interesting. We'd like to pass on that information about any deliverables coming forth from our work package to you. So in October, the last deliverable, which will in length go through all of these recommendations and more, will be openly available, publicly available. So if there's any way for us to share, exchange contact information, that would be great. I'm sure something can be fixed. Maybe through Marta and Alberto. Marta, if you can note down an email address, or I'll put my email address in the chat, and then yeah, we'll make something possible. So thanks for that. One other lesson, which I'm pretty happy about actually, which got some attention from the room, is the cultivating skills, confidence, and capacities and engagement leadership. And we found it also to be a very important one, because we're kind of treating citizen engagement as something which can be done just like plug and play, but actually you have to bring quite a lot of skills, capabilities, and also attitudes towards citizen engagement. For example, well, to bring it to the point, there's actually two types of competences which we encountered among pilot leaders in LIGHTNESS, which is on the one hand, technical expertise, which is really important to be able to explain how the system works transparently, to give people the feeling that they're kind of involved in a serious business case and that the system will eventually work. And on the other hand, social scientific competences. And that's typical, for example, being able to listen, to interpret what people are saying, to be able to place that into context with what other people have been saying, and to also conclude what kind of engagement activities would be suitable in the meantime. And also typical is a more reflexive stand, to be able to discuss with each other and critically point things that could be improved about the engagement process. So not taking as a given, but if it goes south, then really to be able to make improvements. And that sort of skills really come up if you have a combination of these competences, if they're united within engagement leadership. And we found that to be very important. And we made the positive experience in the Netherlands and Spain, as well as a less positive experience where there were mostly technical partners in Poland and Italy. So we could really see the importance of having this complementary set of skills. And Yeah, I guess that's it from our side. Thanks a lot. I'll give it back to Alberto.
Thank you, Jordan. Thank you, Razia, for the insight. And I really enjoy the fact that you wanted to have a close collaboration and close communication with the public. I'm happy that you did that. And in case the other speaker want to, you have a public room with people in Madrid right now. So Silvia, I pass it to you, and I would love to know more about co-creating age-friendly cities.
Yeah, hello, good morning, everyone. Well, I'm Silvia Urra. As Alberto has said, I am senior researcher in Tecnalia, that is a research center located in Bilbao, in the north of Spain. I am architect as a background, but currently I am a PhD student in sociology, so I have a mixed profile. And I have been for 10 years now working around how we can adapt the built environment, that is the urban space and the buildings, to the needs of a people that is living more years than before. Let's say that planning how the cities have to be in the future so that we can have a good life. So the project I am going to explain now is the URBANAGE. Sorry, I will try to share my screen. It's okay?
Yeah, we can see it perfectly, Silvia. Thank you.
Okay, well, I will put my clock because I cannot see the screen, so I cannot see when if you are telling me that I have to stop. Okay, the project I am going to tell you about is called URBANAGE. It's about how disruptive technologies can help urban planners to plan friendlier cities, age-friendlier cities. And today I am going to go more closely how the results of the co-creation process have been translated to the developments of the project. So well, we all know that Europe is getting older, not just Europe, but all the world is getting older. And creating age-friendly cities is an urgent policy challenge. And all the different departments of the cities have to be involved. Already the World Health Organization identified several years ago the need to have age-friendly cities, and they developed an age-friendly cities network that has 8 different domains. One of them, like social participation, respect and social inclusion, civic participation, employment, communication and information, community support and health services, are more focused in the social part, but some others are, let's say, could fall under the competencies of urban planning, like housing, transportation, outdoor spaces and buildings. And of course, all those that make possible for older people to participate in the society, be included and be communicated and to get information. The URBANAGE project is a European Horizon 2020 project that started in February 21. We are going to finish this next year in January, and wants to investigate how digital technology can address the needs of older people in the urban environment. Knowing that in 2050, the 16% of the world population will be over 65 years old, and the 68% of the world population will be living in cities, we know that we have to do something. So we have, in this project, we have 3 pilot cities and regions. We have the city of Helsinki in Finland, we have the city of Santander in the north of Spain, and we have the region of Flanders, each of them with different challenges and also with different cultural and social contexts. Let's say that older people from Helsinki does not have the same needs as older people from Santander or from Flanders. So in order to know which ones were the needs and requirements of older peoples in each of the cities and regions, we did a co-creation process to identify the challenges, the requirements, and the potential solutions. But we have to take into account that in our project, the target group was not just the older people, it was also the civil servants, because we are, let's say, investigating the potential of disruptive technologies for urban planning. So urban planners also have to be happy with those technologies and have to really see the advantages of using those technologies to achieve age-friendlier cities. So the process of the co-creation was focused in these 2 target groups. We did celebrate a first workshop in each of the cities, with older citizens, where we explained them what was an age-friendly city, what was the definition from the World Health Organization, and which ones were the fields where the age-friendly cities were working in. Of course, in a language that has nothing to do with European projects, so that they really were understanding what we were explaining them. And so we asked them mainly which ones were the needs and the challenges that they were experiencing when they were, let's say, circulating around the city or using the city. So they tell us lots of things. It was very interesting because we really saw the differences between the context, the cultural and social context. And then we gathered all that information. Then we had another one with the civil servants that was more focused on identifying which kind of initiatives were already ongoing at city level to achieve age-friendlier cities, also to see which challenges they had to manage new technologies, data issues, and also to validate if in their cities the indicators that the World Health Organization has defined were, let's say, were okay, were according to the needs of the city, or if they consider that they were not. And in the final co-creation session that we did in the 3 cities, what we did was to mix civil servants with older citizens. So we proposed then a user journey, like I want to go from my home to the library. And then we put them in a plan so that they could start seeing in which streets they were finding difficulties, and they could, let's say, work on this journey with the civil servant that was working with them, identify which ones were the good things of that journey and also the bad things. So with all this process that we did, we translated all these requirements into indicators. We identify which of the indicators already had been identified by the World Health Organization in the Age-Friendly Cities Indicators Framework, and which ones were missing. And of course, we did not take all the indicators because, as I have said, our intention is to work around urban planning. So we choose the indicators that have, let's say, that fall under the competencies of urban planners. Urban planners cannot decide if there is needed a new social program, but they can decide if the park has to be improved or if there is a need of a green space in some place of the city. So with that result, we have done different developments in the 3 different pilot cases. In Helsinki, we have a participatory data collection tool and a physical data collection tool also, where all the people can really say where they are finding problems at city level, and then a tool of data to assist urban planners, that is a travel time matrix. Then in Santander, we have an age-friendly route planner that is focused to be used by older people, where they can decide, they can check, it's like a kind of Google Maps, but you can tailor it, and you can say if you need to have a bench in the way, if you need to have a public toilet, if you want to avoid, let's say, for example, very big slopes or other needs you may have. And also we have a simulation tool for long-term urban planning that is thought to be used by urban planners and policymakers, sorry. And in the case of Flanders, we have a green comfort index where people can see how comfortable are the public spaces of different cities in the region of Flanders, and make decisions if they want to go to one or another, and also to make suggestions about the things they think are missing. And then city services for older people, where they cross the existing city services with the profile of the older people living in that zone. So let's say that we have different developments. Some of them are focused to be used by older people, and some other ones have been conceived as tools for urban planners. And now I am going to go deeply in one of those developments, that is the simulation tool for long-term urban planning. So what we did after this process, as I have said, we did translate that requirements into indicators, and we decided which indicators were under the urban planning field. So we had a set of indicators. We cross-check with different experts from the urban planning field, but also sociology, gerontology, gerontechnology, and different fields, and we asked them to give different weights to the indicators so that we could build an age-friendliness index. The intention of the age-friendliness index is to have something that can leave us compare among the different age-friendliness of the neighborhoods. That's interesting because people can really, urban planners and policymakers can really compare among different neighborhoods of the same city and can make informed decisions. So what we are doing is a tool for urban planning that is focused on age-friendliness. It has been developed, this Age-Friendly Neighbourhood Index, that has urban accessibility issues, access to urban services, public and private infrastructure, and different amenities available like benches, fountains, and public toilets, and other. Then we have defined a multi-criteria calculation for that index, make possible to identify priority areas and to simulate future scenarios. And we have done that using a digital twin that maps the city information, and we have created also a simulator where we can put all the information and calculate the age-friendliness index, and also we can simulate how different solutions can change the index. We have used, in some cases, isochrones to measure the indicators. That is the time you need to get from your home to different services or places, for example. So the two target groups of this tool are the decision makers and the civil servants. On one side, decision makers can have a diagnosis of the age-friendliness of the different neighborhoods in different domains, and they can make informed decisions. And for civil servants, they can use the simulation tool to really check before implementing any solution the influence that solution could have in the index of the different neighborhoods, and evaluate the impact of the implementation and then make the decision. So I am going to present you these two profiles because I think that is easier to understand if I tell you how these profiles would use that tool. So we have Francisco, he's the urban planning counselor, and the challenges he finds, well, he uses a wheelchair, he knows which ones are the barriers for a person with mobility issues in the city of Santander, because Santander, if you don't know it, is a very nice city, but it's very hilly, has very big slopes. And he wants to know how to adapt the city of Santander to the needs of the older citizens. So he wants to make informed decisions when he decides how to spend the municipal budget. On the other side, we have Antonio. He's the urbanist director. He wants to guarantee that all the citizens, including the older ones, participate in the definition of the city general urban plan. He wants to know how to translate people's needs into urban planning. And he would like to simulate how the different interventions have an influence in the age-friendliness of the neighborhoods. So Francisco, as he's aware of the demographic change and the challenges that it will mean for a city like Santander, because the population of Santander is quite old, wants to know how age-friendly are the different neighborhoods of the city. So he will have this tool that makes possible to visualize the age-friendliness of the different neighborhoods at the neighborhood level, but also at building level. You can characterize the different buildings because, as you know, the digital twin has a lot of possibilities to put different information layers. So you can see really how the buildings are in the different neighborhoods, the age of the buildings, the construction year, and all the information that you want to include there. So when he goes to the city, he wants to know which is the neighborhood that is in the worst situation regarding age-friendliness. And he talks with Antonio and he says, okay, how we can improve and which neighborhood we are going to improve. So Antonio goes to this tool, he goes to the baseline, and he can have an overview of the age-friendliness index of all the neighbors of the city in general, I mean in a whole number, but also in the different domains. But this year there is, let's say there is a grant at national level where you can get some funding for the improvement of the open spaces. So he has the option to go to the multi-criteria tool and give more weight to some domains. In this case, he could give more weight to outdoor spaces so that they are more important in the index. Then he goes back to the baseline and he can have an overview of the baseline that is here. He can see how it was in the theoretical index and the result after putting more weight in the domain he's interested in. So after this, he can select some of the neighborhoods, and he can see the age-friendliness of the neighborhoods, and he can also see the percentage of people over 65 years old and over 80 years old of that neighborhood. This is a good tool for him, because he can make the decision like, well, I think that I would have to do something in this neighborhood because the index is lower than in other places, and besides it has a big percentage of people over 80 years old, but it also has a big percentage of people over 65 years old. So the need will be bigger in some years. So he has now this simulation tool that will allow him to see how different solution packages could have an influence in the index. This is something we are now working in. I mean, we have to work further on this, but the intention is even to have an idea of the investment, let's say, quantity, like low investment, medium, or high. So if there is budget for a small intervention, he could select some solutions, and he could see how in some neighborhoods they would influence in the age-friendliness. Another thing, well, these are the fact sheets of the different solutions that we are working in. Of course, each of these solutions will have influence in different indicators, because if you locate a public park in a neighborhood, it will have influence in the indicator of benches, of public toilets, of green space, of access to public space. I mean, it will have influence in different indicators, and that will change the index. And then we will also have another tool that is that as we are calculating using isochromes the access to different services, we can really see in which places of the city the location of public infrastructure could be better, so that more people could get there. So this is another tool that is going to be interesting. Of course, we know that urban planning is not so high, let's say high scale, because afterwards when you go to the plan, perhaps you see that the best place is already occupied by a building, but at least it can give some clues to the urban planners to see where could be the best place or the surroundings, so that something that you implement would improve the life of a biggest quantity of people. And that's all from my side. If you want more information, you can go to the project webpage. We are also quite active in LinkedIn, so you can look for us and you will find a lot of information about, there are some videos, informative videos about the use cases in the 3 cities. There is also some guidelines for engagement. We did launch a policy brief for engagement of all their citizens in this kind of processes. Well, I'm open if you have any question or you want to know something.
Thank you, Silvia. You're well in advance in terms of time. We can definitely open up some questions or remarks also from other speakers. To me, it looked very interesting, and I'm wondering whether it was difficult to create a digital twin, the virtual replica for all 3 cities, and you think APIs and information from the web is accessible everywhere, or it can be a challenge also, that one, to create the digital replica of cities?
Well, to create the digital replica is, I mean, it's just a technological challenge. It has been done already, so it has not been the biggest challenge, let's say. We are more struggling with the data that we need to really give information to that replica. I mean, there is a lot of data about, that is not the data that is, let's say, personal data, because we are not using personal data. But there is some data that was supposed to be easy to achieve, but when you go to city level and you ask for things like, I don't know, where are the public toilets and which ones are the characteristics, things that were or should be easy, it's not so easy to find information. As you know, if you have been working with municipalities, the information is in different departments, and sometimes they do not work at the same time, and they do not share information because they are focused in their own fields. And with things like age-friendly cities, that is a totally transversal issue. challenges to gather that data. And of course, I want to say that the co-creation process is not finished, because now we are validating all the tools with the target groups. I mean, we are not just seeing if they work, we are asking them if they find them interesting and useful, not just if they understand how to use them, but if they think that they could mean a difference in their day-to-day life. So now we are all also in that process of checking and testing with the end users.
Yeah, absolutely. I was thinking about the route planner. I think that's great, especially if you can characterize your route based on architectural barriers and so on and so forth. But it's good that you try firsthand with the users if they find that interesting, also because of digital access and digital literacy. If they use it on a daily basis, that's very interesting.
Yeah,
Jordan,
in
I
this
see
case,
your.
yeah.
Yeah, I had a question about that point, because also from our experience in LIGHTNESS, it's kind of challenging for many elderly people to use digital technology, digital devices. So the data collection method seemed to be digital, where people can indicate problems at various places in the city.
You mean the one in Helsinki?
Helsinki? Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Has that been a challenge in your experience?
In Helsinki, they have developed two options for that. They have a physical gadget, an IoT gadget with some buttons. The categories have been selected, taking into account the co-creation process of the kind of problems that older people said that they have found. So they have this, let's say, analogic gadget where people can just select in the button the problem they find in the urban space. But they have also developed a kind of application so that you can put it in the smartphone. So they have the two options just in case people is not comfortable with technology, because not everyone wants to use a smartphone, even if it's quite usual that older people also is using smartphones nowadays. But some people may not find it interesting, or it's stressing for them, because so there is this gadget, and they have been testing with the gadget if they find it useful or not. So they have the two options already in place.
Wow, super valuable. If I may, another question, Alberto, is that allowed?
Yeah, I think there is still a couple of minutes, and then we can pass it to Sergio.
Okay, great. Because URBANAGE, I associated with, designing a city in a manner that is not discriminating certain ages, and it was clearly within the scope to address the needs of elderly people. I'm also thinking, how would a city or such a design tool look like if it was also designed for kids? So at the other scale of the age span, was that all consideration of that? I get that it's not within the scope of the project really, but I'd just personally be interested whether that could be somehow relevant to your work.
I think that mainly when you check the age-friendly cities indicators, the framework and the definition of the domains, probably a city that is age-friendly is friendly for everyone, I would say. Because when you grow older, I mean, sometimes no, because there is people that is old and they have full capacities, but many times let's say that you lose some capacities, and you get some incapacities. Let's say you may lose some sensory qualities. You may listen worse, see worse, and move with more difficulties. And also you may lose some wayfinding capacities, let's say. And sometimes when we think on kids, small kids and older people, there are some points where we again join, like the circle goes like that. So I think that probably age-friendly cities probably are friendly for everyone. But of course, we could also work on cities that are friendly for kids. It could be interesting. Although I would say that it's going to be more challenges, seeing the demographic process is going to be more challenging to achieve age-friendly cities than children-friendly cities, which is sad on the other side, but yes.
Okay, if there is no further question, maybe someone in the room have any question? If not, I will go to Sergio. Okay, I wanted to make some justice indeed to Sergio Lujan Torres before I had a different information on his side. I wanted just to frame it correctly now. So, Generaciones Fotovoltaicas de La Mancha, GFM. Sergio is technical director and he's an industrial engineer with electric and electronic background. And he's going to tell us about NEON project, in which there is especially creation of business models for energy communities, especially citizen energy communities. And the presentation is going to be around innovation, technologies and services, and how can we engage with innovation. That's quite an interesting topic. So Sergio, whatever you want to say to introduce yourself, and then the floor is yours.
Okay, do you listen to me? Yes, okay, thank you Alberto for your introduction. I'm gonna to share my screen. Okay, let me. Okay, let me know if you.
Perfect.
Okay.
Absolutely perfect. Thank you.
Okay, as Alberto has said, my name is Sergio Lujan. I work for GFM. First of all, I would like to say thank you to the organization for this splendid event and giving us the opportunity of being here for talking about NEON project. NEON project is a project which is the acronym of Next Generation Integrated Energy Services for Citizen Energy Communities. And as Alberto has said, this project consists on studying new business models and all the possibilities for citizen energy communities. As probably many of you know, there are two kinds of energy community. We have the renewable energy community and citizen energy communities. So if in citizen energy communities, we use all kind of energetic actives like renewable generation, EV recharging stations, hydrogen. It's a very, very complete kind of solution. So what it expected, thanks to NEON, is to study the whole interaction between all the agents in energy community. So in this way, we can analyze and study all the relationship between the service facilitators, investors, ESCOs, demand response aggregators, power utility, distribution system operators, buildings owners, occupants, energy providers, consumers, and everything regarding to this is studied in NEON in order to size or to develop new possibilities about energy communities. So all the participants in NEON project, you can see in the figure, we are working companies from 6 different countries: Spain, Serbia, Cyprus, Switzerland, Italy, and France. So as you can see, we are working as linked third party of APA, which is one of the most important association in Spain regarding to energy renewables, and I would like to remark that R2N, which is the organizer of this event, is also participating in this project. So, as I have said, what we are trying to do in the project is to study business model for energy communities. In this way, we have implemented 4 pilots in order to analyze the different possibilities depending on the country. So we have the pilot 1, which is Verkida, which is placed in Italy. We have the pilot 2, which is placed in France, and the name of the pilot is Tomás de las Sers. We have the Spanish pilot, the 3rd pilot in Polígono Industrial Las Cabezas in Villa Cañas, which is the one that we are managing, because we are the Spanish pilot responsible. And we have the 4th pilot, which is Stan City, which is also placed in France. So I'm going to describe the pilot in Spain, our pilot. So we have three existing energy systems. So we are using a PV self-consumption system whose owner is GFM. We have using a storage system whose partner is GFM too, and we have another energy system, which is an EV recharging station whose partner is GFM CA. It's another company who belongs to the group of companies of GFM. From our side, in order to make possible this project and to show people how energy communities are possible, we decided to share all our energy renewable actives we have installed in our headquarters for using in this project. So the PV self-consumption system is a 32 kilowatt of power from PV modules, and we have 6 inverters of several sizes for connecting the direct current into alternating current. We have the storage system. It's 50 kilowatts hour of storage using lead-acid batteries, and we have 3 inverted chargers up to 15 kilowatts. And the EV recharging station is we have 2 sockets. We have in order to charge the cars in direct current or alternating current. So we are using the DC socket is 50 kilowatts and the alternating socket is 40 kilowatts. As I have said, the pilot is placed in Villa Cañas, in Polígono Las Cabezas. This is our headquarters, and here is where all the energy systems are connected. So in this case, we are able to provide energy not only to energy consumers who are directly connected to our system, as could be the consumptions in GFM headquarters and a close paperboard factory we have in the same building. We can provide energy to decentralized end users. So we can provide energy for several users who live in Villa Cañas. We are here, the pilot location is here, and we can provide energy from another industrial stakeholders, which This is Polígono Las Cabezas, and residential users in the village. But not only in Villacañas. We are able to share the energy with people who live in cities close to Villacañas. So you can see Villacaña is here, and using our pilot, we can provide energy with another village like La Villa de Don Fadrique, La Pobla de Almoradiel, Quintanar de la Orden, Quero, and Miguel Esteban. So we have developed a solution for local areas. And how we can do it? Okay, we are working in developing an intelligent exchange platform, which is the key of the energy community. It is used for doing a virtual energy balance. It's like a big virtual economic box where all the savings from the different stakeholders are kept here inside, and then according to the agreement that all the members have signed, we can share all the kilowatts and euros which are here inside. So, which is the guidelines for developing an energy community? Well, we have the phase one, which is the recruitment process. So we have to explain people how it works. Then we have to analyze the pilot and study what kind of services we can provide. Then we must do the promotion of the energy community. Then we have to create a group for studying the co-creation process and preparing everything for doing all the legal aspects. Phase 5 is the constitution of the energy community, and then phase 6 is the implementation of energy community. Well, there are a lot of important points that must be taken into account. All the technical aspects, all the financial aspect, all the regulatory aspect, all the social aspect, all the environment aspect, and the governance aspect. So, as we are here to see engagement strategies, all these things which are related with the engagement strategy. So what we realized when we were doing the project, okay, we realized that at the beginning was very difficult because at least in Spain, people don't trust on what they don't know. So there is a very low understanding of energy market. Energy market is normal because Spanish energy market is very complicated. So current people don't control anything about it. When we talk about sharing energy, the first feeling for people is that it won't be a profit investment. So it is another disadvantage at the beginning. There is not a very high environment sensitivity, so we try to push that feeling in order to make possible these energy communities. There is lack of knowledge of mechanism of the system. There were a lot of regulatory changes regarding to renewable sector, so people sometimes are scared about this, and there are a very upward trend in the energy prices. So it is important because it could be a disadvantage at the beginning when we are doing this. So what phases we use for engagement strategies? Okay, we have 4 phases. Okay, the first one is to develop workshop in order to have a feedback about the needs and the fears of the potential members. So when we did this, we could establish all the benefits that the community can bring to the future members. This phase in the project is done, so we started the second phase, where the workshop we did was for study different scenarios for the community creation. So we, as we will see later, we studied all the financial aspect, or we studied all the consumption habits, all the generation patterns, in order to size a very good energy community. Now we are doing this phase. We are trying to help to stakeholders the governation inside the energy community. This is a very important point, because we are trying to help them to agree about all the decisions regarding to the energy community. There are many people who is sure that they will think in a different way. So this is a very difficult step when you are developing an energy community. But once you have started, you realize that all people are more independent with the pass of the time. So with the pass of the months, you know that they can provide ideas. It's easier to match all the ideas. So that's the stage where we are carrying out. And when the energy community is finished, we are trying to implement a strategy which could be used by the stakeholders for engagement strategies for new users, but they could be done. It could be done by themselves. So you can be in phase 1. All the workshop were performed in GFM headquarters, and where what we did is doing mailing, doing publications, clarifying doubts by phone. We did strategy publications, and we performed a lot of small workshops in order to clarify all the doubts for the people who want to join to the energy community. The results were recollected using some questionnaires, which were taken into account in order to decide the best decision for going ahead with the energy community. In phase 2, we studied all the consumption trends, all the generation pattern. We studied all the financial aspects, and we also studied all the forecast about consumption and generation. In this case, we can study which steps should be done for making the energy community bigger. We can start with a certain amount stakeholders, both energy providers and end users. And if we can attract more stakeholders, we can decide in which way we can grow up, depending on all the studies we did on this phase. Okay, in phase 3, which is the one which we are doing now, we try to establish the co-governance. Okay, it is selected a representative group of people for representing the others, and they try to decide by themselves all the decision about the future for energy community. But at the beginning, they need help because they don't know what they can do. So it's very important to be close to stakeholders at the beginning of the project, at the beginning of the energy community, in order to provide them confidence at the time to decide things, or to decide which kind of investment is the best for the future, or which is the best way of consume energy, providing them pieces of advice of energy efficiency. So here you can see all the items we were talking about during the first workshops in phase 3. So we were talking about the constitution of the energy community. We decide when the initial assembly should be performed. We are redacting the statutes of the energy community. We decide the periodicity of the periodic assemblies. We decide everything else about social aspect. How can we do something for the society in this way? All the environmental aspect. How can we use the energy on which it's the best engagement strategy for attracting new stakeholders. And finally, in phase 4, we, in parallel, once phase 3 is finished, in phase 4, we will have in parallel the periodic assemblies to decide, to continue deciding which is the best decision for the current energy community. But in parallel, it is expected to organize new workshops and new meetings for attracting new stakeholders, both energy providers and energy consumers. So some activities have been done in advance, like having a contact list for attracting new people. We have shared in several events flyers. For example, when there is a meeting in the council, or when something is performed in Villacañas or La Villa de Don Fadrique or Quero or whatever we want, we can provide these kind of flyers in order to do the promotion of the energy community. And for doing dissemination, some articles have been redacted in order to explain our experience in the energy community in Polígono Industrial Las Cabezas. And that's all from our side. If you have any question, I will be pleased to answer them.
Thank you, Sergio. Thank you for the comprehensive yet interesting presentation. I don't know if from the public in Sustainable Places there's any question or other speakers have some doubts for Sergio. If not, we're going to go to discussion between us.
I have a question, but it's more practical because I am in another project where we want to investigate how to push for energy communities when there is no culture of energy communities, and how to deal with to create a need that no one has. Because it's different if a group of people joins and asks for information, but in these projects, many times we go with an idea and then we have to start telling people what is an energy community, and we have to create that need. As I understand that you have been explaining a pilot in Spain, I think that probably the context will be similar. So were they already interested in, or you went and proposed it, or how was the?
Yes, I agree with you that this is the most difficult point when you are trying to establish an energy community. We are in advanced positions because apart for developing project, we are installers of PV systems, and we can do the EPC project for self-consumption system for residential sector and industrial sector. So we are working for 20 years, and we are a very well recognized enterprise in our local area regarding to renewable energy. So that's a very important point, because if we provide confidence in that way, if we explain them something related to energy community, we are listened by people better than if we are other company that is not known at all. And sometimes we have seen people who want to install for example, a PV self-consumption system, and he doesn't have money enough for doing it. Or for example, they live in a flat and they don't have a roof to install the PV modules. And if he wants to do that, he have to talk with all the neighbors, and probably it's very difficult to have an agreement between them. So I think that it was a very good solution. We tried to start to explaining them that it's a very good solution for those ones who wants to do something, but they don't have the possibility for some reason, because they don't have money, because they don't have a roof. And we started in that way. Once we have a certain group of people for joining to the energy community, it's easier to attract more people, because once the neighbor sees that you are doing that, it's easier to provide additional confidence. So I think that for giving you an answer, we have two important points. We are well recognized in our local area, so it is important to be listened. And the second point is to look for those ones who are more combined than others, and they don't have the possibility because they don't have money, or they don't have a group. When you have a small group and you start to work, when you show that it works, it's easier to attract more people.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sergio. I don't know whether from Razia or Jordan, you have any question from your side? And if not, I wanted to maybe remark something on the virtual energy balancing platform. How intelligible is that to citizen? How they do understand the platform and the flows of energy and information? Is that something easy, Sergio, or that is not the need? They do understand how the platform works.
Yes. What we are trying to do is because we have to adapt to the Spanish regulation. So we have to do all the legal aspect for the 3 existing services. We have to do everything for the PV self-consumption system, the storage system, and the EV recharging station. So they work by their own. And all the energy savings which are produced by these actives are measured and is traduced to money. And we can keep that information in that virtual box. And then we measure all the consumptions of all the stakeholders. In Spain, they are not directly connected. So we try to replicate a whole system as everyone is connected. But we say, well, which will be the behavior of the community? Everyone is together and everyone is close to each other's. Okay, the behavior will be if the consumptions are these ones and the generations are these ones, the results will be these ones. So now they are far away one to each other's. So let's do something, and if this is this virtual box where we can compensate. Okay, we can compensate the savings from the place where the actives are connected to the place where the actives are not connected, and in this way we can have a net energy savings for everyone, because it is not possible to carry a cable a lot of kilometers away from the GFM headquarters. So we do it in a cloud.
I think it's even more clear to me now how the platform's working. Jordan, I see you're muted. Maybe you want to comment something?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Alberto. I was kind of triggered, Silvia, by your comment about the us offering a solution which actually doesn't solve a problem that exists, because that's also has been our experience mostly in LIGHTNESS too. When we come door to door, we say we have an energy service which is innovative and digital. People thought that we were offering them an energy contract, and they didn't want to change suppliers, so they shut the door on us. So it's sort of 2 different worlds clashing when engaging citizens. And of course, that's not true for everyone, because the group of people, Sergio, which joined your workshops, is surely capable and interested in the solutions you're offering. But overall, especially in terms of an equal participation, it's very hard to get to engage, well, all the people which could be interested. And I guess what that would ask from we're running another Horizon project called Tandems, and they're the pilots, also about energy communities. The pilots weren't determined at the beginning of the project, but every partner had sort of a few ideas, and it was always an option to not do a certain pilot when it seemed that it wasn't promising enough for contributing to the project. Also based on ethnographic scans of the neighborhoods, of input from intermediaries which work there, just to be sure. And one side note, there was no technology involved in Tandem's project, so it's also a bit different. Different interests then in running such a pilot, so that's also important. But the approach, I think, to be more adaptive, more flexible, that gives more room to actually recognize what is playing in the neighborhood, and that might also enable, well, us projects like this to really launch a community, engage enough people that are interested. And the second solution might be, to do it in a co-creational manner. So to be able to collect input from people and to let that input weigh into the design of the technology, for example. Just a comment from my side.
Thank you, Jordan. I think it's quite relevant. We don't superimpose solutions, but we create from the bottom-up perspective. Even if there is a top-down need to, let's say, do the energy transition, but it has to be both way bi-directional, guided from above, but felt and needed from the bottom. I guess this could be maybe a conclusion for today's session for citizen engagement in general. I would like just to thank you all for your valuable inputs and perspective and work you're developing. Thank a lot, Jordan and Razia, Silvia and Sergio, for being here. From the physical sustainable place, I see there is no final remarks, so I guess we can say session of today is closed, and with this one, also Sustainable Places 2023, it's almost at the end, so it was a pleasure to host you and to have you here.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Looking forward. Goodbye.
Very much.
Bye.